Knowledgeware, Driving Innovation. In the session today, we'll focus mainly on maximizing your return on your current investment in CATIA. I'm your host, Vaughn. With no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our esteemed guest today from Dassault Systems, Jeff Barrett. Jeff has spent many years focused on these products and has quite a bit to share with us here today. So, Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Taban. And thanks to everybody for joining the call today, and welcome to today's presentation. As Taban indicated, the title of the presentation is CATIA Knowledgeware, Driving Innovation, Maximize ROI on your CATIA investment. My name is Jeff Barrett. I'm with Dassault Systems here in our Woodland Hills office, and I'm very pleased to be co-presenting with Idex Solutions, who is one of our premier partners for our solutions. And they are very uniquely qualified to sell and support CATIA Knowledgeware. So this is a very good fit for what they do. So the objective for today's presentation is to provide a general overview of CATIA Knowledgeware and then focus on the values around template-driven design. And the targeted audience is the pool of existing CATIA customers, whether or not you currently use CATIA Knowledgeware. And I should also point out that it's very applicable to both what we call CATIA Classic V5, so like your MD2s and things like that, as well as your CATIA PLM Express environments. So the overall value of CATIA Knowledgeware is to take something that is slow, repetitive, mundane, and very time-consuming and make it faster, as indicated by our little picture of our little friend here. We're going to quickly review the agenda on what we'll cover today. Of course, we want to figure out or discuss what problems does CATIA Knowledgeware solve, what is it, and why is it needed. We'll get in a little bit into the core values and the benefits of CATIA Knowledgeware. We'll discuss a Ford reference article that was written by Ford on their stated benefits in utilizing Knowledgeware. Of course, we'll go into a product portfolio overview to talk about what the products are, talk a little bit about scalability, and then we'll end it with some additional customer references, and then, of course, some Q&A for any questions that you guys might have. So just to make you think a little bit, we always like to start with this little quote here: if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. And it's kind of a deep thing, a thought for me anyways, and that is if you're always happy, if you're very happy with what you've always gotten in terms of product development time to market, quality, etc., then there's probably very little motivation to change anything. But perhaps you're on this call because there is an opportunity to address some of the issues that you might be having, and we're happy to discuss that here. And CATIA Knowledgeware can be very helpful in these areas, as hopefully we'll see throughout this presentation. CATIA Knowledgeware addresses a number of business problems that your company may be experiencing, and we're going to list a few of them here on this slide. Industry knowledge and company IP is located in silos, and therefore it's not effectively shared with new users or even existing users across the various disciplines that might be within your company. So as such, information is lost as employees leave the company, and that might be through retirement, or it might be by going to another company, perhaps even a competitive company, because there's typically no formal process to capture this information. I think we would probably all agree that designers and engineers spend far too much time on repetitive design tasks, which are the boring and mundane tasks, and of course very subject to errors, and they should focus and very much want to focus on innovative product designs. This is the value, this is why you hired them. Design alternatives are often not considered due to time constraints. If you could imagine having enough time to evaluate a second or a third alternative design in the same amount of time that it would take to create one, you would see the value of using something like Knowledgeware. And data handoff and process flow interruptions between disciplines is problematic and/or ineffective. And it's not just the handoff and flow, but also sharing design rules, templates, methodologies, things like that across the various disciplines. And these disciplines might be your engineering, your design, simulation, etc., or it could be within manufacturing, such as manufacturing planning, machining, tooling, anything like that. And as the diagram in the lower right-hand corner there indicates, and I'm sure most of you would agree, the majority of work that performed by a designer or an engineer is routine and mundane, which is where CATIA Knowledgeware provides so much value. So why CATIA Knowledgeware? Our many CATIA customers, and hopefully most of you on this call, certainly understand the value that is derived from the use of CATIA. However, what they typically see is only the tip of the iceberg. The hidden value of CATIA lies in the breadth and depth of the extended capabilities such as Knowledgeware. There are many different specialized applications that can be or that exist within CATIA, and Knowledgeware is certainly one of the more valuable ones. And as we can see here, we've got a CATIA user in his little boat realizing there's more to the iceberg. This slide illustrates the main value of CATIA Knowledgeware as well as the enablers. So CATIA Knowledgeware is natively integrated into the architecture and utilizes a single object model used by all workbenches. In addition, CATIA Knowledgeware is easy to use and to deploy and is very scalable. So you're going to see a lot of keywords in the enablers here section that are underlined, and you'll see references to these very words from our customer quotes later on in the presentation. These enablers include the ability to capture, share, and reuse corporate expertise and IP to leverage expertise from your previous designs, to evaluate and optimize product definition to ensure that the best design is attained, to validate and enforce industry or company standards compliance to ensure that the correct methodology is followed and to ensure quality, to automate repetitive tasks because no designer wants to spend his or her time doing boring, mundane, repetitive tasks. And together, these enablers offer our customers a dramatic reduction of time in their product development process and therefore an increase in their design capacity. So for example, being able to design 2 taillights or 1 taillight and a derivative in the same amount of time it normally takes to do 1. And finally, versatile and scalable. So not only can you apply CATIA Knowledgeware to any discipline, such as design, analysis, and the other disciplines, but also across disciplines to achieve substantial additional value from CATIA. And if you think about it, a good example might be a rule which indicates to the designer that a slightly larger product design will require the next size of mold stock to be used, and therefore this embedded knowledge can help the upstream designer to make cost-effective design decisions based upon the downstream effects from his or her design. And finally, scalable. CATIA Knowledgeware can be deployed progressively according to the needs, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. So now that we reviewed the fundamentals and enablers around CATIA Knowledgeware, we're going to explore the benefits that our customers are achieving. And again, I would ask you to pay attention to the words and phrases below because we're going to see many of them reported through a Ford reference article in the next few slides and additional references later on in the presentation. So our customers can differentiate by capturing, sharing, and expanding company know-how and therefore focus time and expertise on innovative tasks, which again is why you hired them. Be faster by automating product and design processes, accelerating exploration of design alternatives, and maximize design reuse. In other words, utilize the value of captured knowledge and let the computer do this at computer speeds. Be more efficient by enforcing standards and specifications that are defined by your company's experts. Integrate process requirements early in the design phase based upon previous projects and experience. Automate detection of issues and increase quality. So in other words, removing repetitive tasks also reduces the chances for errors. And finally, grow by reacting quickly and accurately to project opportunities, for example, reusing or repurposing a design. Facilitate the support of decision-making, so perhaps you've got a headlight design that you know you can start with, and therefore 60% of the design is already done through the use of templates. These are all examples, very good examples of Knowledgeware. As I indicated a little while ago, a few years ago, Ford did a very nice reference article for us on CATIA Knowledgeware and the values that they were realizing from it. It's a 4-page article, so I've got 4 slides here to highlight each page in the article. And I guess I'd like to think that we're somewhat co-presenting here in the next 4 slides because we are using the words that came directly from Ford. So here we see page 1 on the left with some red rectangles where I extracted some of the text over to the right that I kind of want to call attention to. The first one is from the Ford CEO, Alan Mulally. His one Ford plan is to accelerate development of new products. And that's really what Knowledgeware is all about. That's just the core value around Knowledgeware. And then, of course, we see another reference there to streamline decision-making. Moving on to page 2, in the red text, we see references to integrated template strategy, higher quality, improved design capabilities. And then if we go over to the right box, we see a reference to intelligent features through embedded Knowledgeware, accelerated development, arriving at solutions faster, improving time to market, increasing product quality, and reducing product development costs. So again, these are Ford's words. I think there's probably not a person on this phone that wouldn't like to achieve this. However, that is done, and this was what Ford was able to accomplish through the use of Knowledgeware. Now we'll move to slide 3. Or page 3. There's a very good quote within the reference article, and I'd like to read it. Templates have helped us reduce the design time for the cylinder head and valve train by up to 11 days for each iteration, and we often have 20 iterations. This makes it possible to optimize the design to a higher quality level. Preliminary estimates are that we can cut 3 to 4 weeks off the time required to concept and design an engine. So this is a very, very strong statement from them. Of course, 11 days for each iteration and 20 iterations is 220 person days, which is essentially a person year. So that is a substantial savings that they are realizing from the use of templates and Knowledgeware. There's another reference there to making the design of hard-to-model parts consistent, leading to higher quality designs. And then drive modeling standards, incorporate design engineering rules, and increase reusability to drive higher quality and reduce time. Again, very, very powerful statements. Some additional comments on the right about intelligent rules-based information. Another quote about the template automatically generates the design, saving an average of 2 hours for each of the 18 gears in a typical transmission, and substantial reduction in errors. So some very good metrics, and again, some very good statements about the values that linked very closely back to the first couple of slides that we talked about the value of Knowledgeware. And finally, slide 4, we see a reference to developing a head and valve train skeleton model that references the required components and their relationships and then automatically updates the design with each new iteration. We see a very nice quote, the time we save, talking about more design iterations, more time to produce a more robust design and provide better performance and reliability to our Ford customers. And then finally, taking days and months from our development process, and a final reference to integrating design rules within CATIA. So they leverage the entire suite of CATIA Knowledgeware. They do it very, very effectively, and they achieve great benefit from it. And we're very pleased, again, to have this reference article that they put together and to be able to share that. So Knowledgeware, CATIA Knowledgeware is a suite of products, and each product has a different purpose. And the idea here is that you don't have to do the whole thing, and they are very, very scalable. The 4 columns that you see here represent the general value areas of CATIA Knowledgeware. You see enforce, optimize, validate, and automate. And each one has different CATIA Knowledgeware products associated with it. So for enforce, as an example, we see CATIA Knowledge Advisor, or KWA, as well as CATIA Product Knowledge Template, which is PKT and KT1. Under Optimize, we see CATIA Product Engineering Optimizer, or PEO. Under Validate, we see CATIA Knowledge Expert, or KWE-KE1. And then finally, under Automate, we see CATIA Business Process Knowledge Template, which is BKT and BK2. As I indicated before, Knowledgeware is very scalable and can be progressively built upon and combined to provide higher value as we move from left to right in this diagram. And that's kind of what we'll do in the next few slides here. Within the Enforce column, we first have CATIA Knowledge Advisor. And this allows our users to embed knowledge within their designs and leverage it to reduce errors and automate design for maximum productivity. This addresses the challenges related to companies and industry expertise leaving the company and/or design rationales are not known or followed by the designers. So they're not leveraging previous designs. And it provides a very strong value proposition of preserving this expertise by capturing these rules and requirements throughout the product definition process so that they can be shared for future designs. This product is quite easy to implement and typically provides immediate value and ROI to our customers. Next, we have CATIA Product Knowledge Template, or PKT, which pairs nicely with KWA to enforce design criteria and standards. PKT allows the senior designers and engineers to capture design data and build and modify reusable templates. A separate runtime product called KT1 is accessed in order to reuse design data through the use of these predefined templates. And I want to point out that this dual PKT-KT1 license approach is there for a very, very good reason, and that's to allow companies to identify and define the template builders, which are typically your senior designers or engineers, versus the casual users, which represent the majority of the users. And what this does is it prevents the casual users from making changes to these templates, which could lead to quality issues. If you could imagine that they can't hold to a given tolerance, the worst thing in the world would be for them to go in and modify the tolerance so that they can meet it, and now they've introduced a quality problem. The other thing is we don't want all users to be able to capture the information, which may produce possible intellectual property risks if the casual user leaves the company. So it's really protecting you in terms of quality and IP protection. And PKT and KT1 together address the challenges related to designers spending far too much time on content creation that occurs with variation and not enough time on innovation, which is causing product delays. And as a result, PKT and KT1 provide templates to help increase personal productivity and innovation, which in turn shortens your design cycle, allows quicker design generations, and allows them to reuse proven designs. We're going to discuss these products a little more in a few minutes and even see a short video segment on the use of templates to drive efficient designs. Next, we have CATIA Product Engineering Optimizer, or PEO, which captures design objectives interactively to determine the optimal design solution from numeric methods. This addresses the challenges related to consistently missing defined goals of weight, volume, etc., so a lot of different metrics that you could insert there, and also that alternative designs are not considered. By providing the very, very strong value propositions to increase product quality, to optimize your definition, your product definition, and also to explore design alternatives by being able to do it faster and having the system help you to consider additional optimization techniques. Next, we have CATIA Knowledge Expert, or KWE, which defines and captures global engineering rules and industry policies for product design. A separate runtime license called KE1 is used to validate and enforce the adherence of product design to regulations through the use of predefined rule bases. And again, this dual license approach allows companies to define the engineering rules while preventing the casual users from making changes to these rules. And these two products together address the challenges around variance coming out of engineering, which is resulting in downstream problems, quality problems, and therefore a need for checkers against your standard processes. So it validates your design practices to manage, to make sure that you're adhering to your rules, and to certify product definition, and ultimately to increase your quality. And finally, we've got CATIA Business Process Knowledge Template, or BKT, which captures design best practices and defines automated flow structures interactively. A separate runtime license called BK2 is access to automate consistent process definition through the use of predefined activities. And what this does is it acts as a glue to automate the engineering tasks that you've created from using the other, the previous products to the left, on the left side of the diagram there. So this dual license approach, again, allows companies to build and modify the process templates while preventing the casual user from making changes to these templates, which are then, of course, changes the flow, which could introduce all sorts of problems. And as a result, BKT and BK2 address many, many business challenges, such as long design cycles, inconsistent design practices, repetitive tasks, fragmented processes, islands of automations, homegrown applications, etc. So it's a very, very powerful tool, and it really allows you to capture and replicate these best practices that you've defined using the other tools for engineering process automation, to shorten your design cycle, to reduce waste, reduce costs, etc. So it's kind of the end-all, be-all, of combining everything else into one very, very consistently defined process. This slide is here just to remind us that we're going to focus the rest of the presentation more on the left side here, to focus more on the template design products. So now we're going to go a little deeper on the high-level process to incorporate Knowledgeware templates into your design process, as well as further reviewing the key values behind them. And it's really a matter of three simple steps, as we show here, 1, 2, 3. Step number 1 would be to use Knowledge Advisor, or KWA, which was the leftmost product on the previous slides, to embed knowledge in the design through rules, formulas, reactions, and checks, and in so doing to allow you to make better decisions and reach optimal error-free designs in a shorter amount of time. Steps 2 and 3 together are to incorporate the customizable templates into your design process. So if we look at step 2 first, we're going to utilize Product Knowledge Template Definition, or PKT, and these are going to be your more senior users who will capture the design data and methodologies for multiple reuse scenarios across projects. So they're capturing things from previous projects that can be leveraged for future projects, and they're doing so by defining highly customizable, intelligent templates to encapsulate these corporate standards and to drive consistency throughout your product development process. And then, of course, step number 3 is to utilize Product Knowledge Template, or KT1. This would be the core of your users, to utilize intelligent, adaptive templates across the extended enterprise. And these templates are going to support the propagation of standardized design methodologies and corporate know-how, and provide the designers with timely direct access to parts and assembly libraries based upon previous projects and based upon the experts that your company has identified and what they've defined. So now we're going to see a video clip that shows some of the values in utilizing CATIA Knowledgeware templates for designing a product. And we're going to see that the use of templates within the design, simulation, and validation phases will allow this designer in this brief demonstration to quickly and efficiently consider various design iterations within a few seconds that might otherwise take hours or even days to do manually. So to create the rear lamp for a new car, this designer relies on expertise gained from previous projects, which is really what Knowledgeware is all about, that are done within the company. Efficient design practices have been captured, optimized, and stored in CATIA V5 to define the template elements, which will then be reused to begin a new project. Thus, the user does not have to start from scratch to ensure conformance to the new design. So all that said, let me go ahead and start the video clip here. Okay, let's begin the video. So we have a designer who needs to design the reflective lens for a taillight assembly. And to do this, you will first insert a geometric template of a predefined and fully parameterized parabolic surface with embedded Knowledgeware that will represent the shape of the reflective lens. And this is picked from a shared library of components. Characteristics such as size and position are under user control thanks to parameters So the designer makes some modifications to the size of the surface and the focal length. The designer then inserts another template to instantiate a geometrical pattern of reflector elements onto the parabolic surface. The pattern is comprised of a great number of reflector elements and is morphed onto the support surface and created in a matter of seconds. You can see there are numerous user-defined inputs such as the size and number of reflector elements, which can be adjusted by the designer during instantiation of the template. The designer makes the appropriate changes to expand the grid in both the X and Y directions to be slightly larger than the diameter of the fixture, and then modifies the parameter to install a hole for the bulb and defines the appropriate radius. Then he splits the surface to fit it into the light assembly. Next, he invokes a third-party CATIA partner solution to simulate a light reflection in order to check the photometric properties of the reflector surface. It checks compliance with official regulations thanks to an integrated set of validation rules. The definition and results of the simulation are integrated into the CATIA V5 tree structure, as you can see there, thus allowing native associativity with the geometrical design. Review of the results, as you can see here, shows that the reflector design must be adjusted in order to comply with official regulations. So the designer returns to the template grid to change the size of the panels. And of course, doing this manually would take hours, but the fully parameterized template allows him to simply redefine the size of the small panel in seconds. Modifications in the parametric design are automatically propagated to the simulation operation, and a new report is produced, as you can see right there, now showing compliance with the expected standard. And finally, an additional check is provided thanks to realistic rendering of the new rear lamp, which we'll see in a few seconds here. There it is. So this completes the full virtual experience showing how knowledge-assisted design, simulation, and validation ensure a faster, safer, traceable, and cost-effective process. So the value proposition here is the use of fully parameterized templates to allow easy modifications of numerous user-defined values to quickly drive an efficient and acceptable design. And of course, this saves a great deal of time, improves quality, and allows more design alternatives to be considered. In this case, a single template can be created and fully leveraged for numerous light fixture designs. So now we'll move on to the next slide. So we've reviewed the CATIA Knowledgeware products, and now we're going to see how they can be connected together to achieve the greatest benefit to your business in terms of return on assets. So here's a little chart to show the scalability. So we start in the lower left-hand corner with COM, and then to COM we can add something like KWA, which we talked about earlier. And then on top of KWA, we could either go vertically up to PEO, or we could go over to the right to do PKT and KT1 for the template definition. And then from there, we can go up and do some rules validation with KWE and KE1, and also ultimately to BKT and BK2 for process optimization. So the area in the red hatched area there is really the overall template design, the 2 or 3 products that you need for template design. So what we see going from lower left to upper right is we're going from a definition of rules for individual features to part and product templates, then on up into rule bases, and ultimately to design process templates depending on what the customer's needs are. So we talked earlier also about the fact that Knowledgeware, of course, has many, many different products that do many different things. And we also talked about, of course, there are many different disciplines within a typical product development process. So now that you understand the overall portfolio and the scalability, we're going to review a couple examples of where CATIA Knowledgeware can fit into the overall product development process for our CATIA customers across the various disciplines. And you can see that if we start in the upper left-hand corner, just as an example, we see that it can be applied to vehicle architecture, a conceptual study, so that they're optimizing driver visibility. We can, of course, go on into engineering with many different Knowledgeware products, in this case dimensioning a spring through the definition of equations, on into design. In this case, we're using some templates, body and white templates, into electromechanical designs to do some rules validation, on into tolerance tolerancing, again using some templates, into digital mock-up. We're doing some interference checking based upon the technological rules. We see a couple examples of simulation, one of them showing mathematical law, the other one showing optimization. On to inspection, where we see some more rules-based recognition of geometry, and then into manufacturing, we've got another example, in this case, manufacturing process templates, recognizing design templates, and then finally into tooling, which is generative tooling from jigs and fixtures templates. So again, an example of just kind of showing an overall, not really a process, but the different disciplines, how they can be kind of connected through the different use of the Knowledgeware tools that we have available. I mentioned we had several reference articles. We won't spend any time here on the Ford one because we already looked at that in great detail. So I'll go ahead and advance to the next one, which is Cessna. And we have a very nice quotation coming from Julia Waterbury at Cessna. And she says, "We wanted to get consistency from part to part, and CATIA V5 Knowledgeware is helping us accomplish that by building a lot of our business knowledge into each template." And the benefits at the bottom, they expect to achieve a minimum 25% reduction in design cycle time for each templated part, multiplied by thousands of uses per design. So you can see very clearly the value that Cessna is getting out of Knowledgeware through the use of templates. I've got two slides here that each have a couple different reference articles and quotations from those reference articles. We already discussed Ford, but we can see some other ones. Again, I'll just focus more on the comments in red. We see a reference to capturing our knowledge and building on it, meeting our customers' need for speed, continuous quality improvement, and a very nice quote, concept to delivery from 3 years to 1 year. We see metrics such as 40% less time, winning more business, and staying ahead of our competition, and cost to design new parts down 20%. And finally, we see reference to intelligent templates, design rules, design tables and checks, being able to be reused, capturing methodology, encapsulating corporate standards, and ultimately design changes cut by more than 50%. That is a huge, huge value to this customer. Moving on to the next slide, we see some additional quotations, preserving know-how, capitalization and leverage of our expertise, increasing value and consequently our margins, 20 to 40% design savings, so very, very strong metrics there. Usual 9 steps reduced to 1 step, reducing man hours by as much as 80%, quality issues effectively managed, data associated with existing designs reused, minimizing overlap and duplication of effort, and design modifications reduced by 30%, product development time reduced by 20%. Another one, to automate basic design work, modifications in minutes as opposed to days. I think the last quote really sums up the kind of the state of what any company wants in the current economy. The only way we're going to compete is to do the same work in less time, and CATIA V5 has given us that capability. The ultimate benefit is that it has allowed us to stay within the pricing structure our customers can afford to pay us. And I think if anybody could be assured of that, of course, that's a very, very good thing these days. The last slide on references here is simply a list of customer logos. All of these customers have done reference articles and or reference videos for us, really, promoting their use of Knowledgeware and the values, again, that they achieve from that. Wow, so we talked about CATIA Knowledgeware and the value propositions around utilizing templates to automate designs, to improve quality, to shorten the design cycles, and consider additional design alternatives. And if you believe that these values could be applied to your CATIA environment and to your product development process, then I hope that you'll consider CATIA Knowledgeware and allow the Idex Solutions team to have a follow-up call with you to discuss your specific challenges, your CATIA inventory, again, whether that be CATIA PLM Express or Classic CATIA, and ultimately how they can help you with Knowledgeware. And all that said, I thank you very much for your time, and I'd like to hand it back to Taban for any Q&A. Taban?
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. That was great. I think some of those return on investment figures in terms of some of the time savings, they're very significant. I saw some ranging from 20% up to 80%. And so there's certainly quite a bit of value in extending CATIA's capabilities into more templated designs and intelligent features in addressing, several business problems. So excellent job. I really appreciate you sharing that with us here today. And again, I would like to just point out on the slide there's a sales@idexsolutions.com email address should you need to get in touch with the Idex sales representative with respect to Knowledgeware. Right now, I'd just like to remind everybody, if you can press #6, that will unmute the phone. And you could also submit your questions via the chat window. Do we have any questions here? Jeff, one question we have is what changes do we have to make to our to the CATIA environment to be able to use Knowledgeware?
Yeah, so that I guess it could depend on the interpretation of the question. Maybe there might be two different interpretations, so I'll try to answer maybe both of them. If the question is about do we have to be on a certain release, like CATIA V5 R21 versus R19 or something, there's no change you have to do for that. CATIA Knowledgeware is very, very stable, has been around for many, many years, pretty much unchanged. It's been a core value for many, many releases. So there's likely no change that has to be made to your release. In terms of other changes you'd have to make, all you have to do is really get the products that we've discussed on the presentation here, and that's really all you need. There's no other prerequisites or any changes to your operating system or any other additional products that would be required for that.
Also, is there a difference between, let's say, the legacy style of CATIA and its Knowledgeware versus maybe some of the newer packaging for the small and medium businesses with PLM Express?
No, there is not. The CATIA PLM Express is simply, let's call it a kind of a repackaged version of what we might call CATIA Classic. So the trigrams, the products that we saw in these slides here that you can buy within normal CATIA Classic, you can also buy within CATIA PLM Express. They might be called something slightly different because it's just a packaging thing, but you can buy CATIA PLM Express product that would contain the appropriate Knowledgeware component. So yeah, there's really no difference.
Here's another question. How does XLEAD one part fit into this process?
I'm sorry, what was the question? How does XLEAD?
Yeah, how does XLEAD one part fit into this process?
So I don't know that I could answer that. I know, I think Kendar Patel, my colleague from Dassault Systems, is, I believe, also on the call. Kendar, do you have any insight into that, if you're able to talk?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so that'll be on the V6 platform. So once you have created the higher level Knowledgeware, kind of like BKT, and want to get access to some of those components, you will have easier access, basically. I mean, that's all XLEAD does. It indexes and helps you find your component a lot faster than you would do without XLEAD.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Kendra.
Oh, thank you. Also, I just want to put out there that Idex, we fully support the sales and also the training of these product knowledge templates, as well as helping customers develop these types of templates. We have lots of experience working with customers like Parker and a number of others. So we have probably one of the best resources in the country for Knowledgeware and for CATIA automation. Again, if you would like to get any further information, or if you'd like to look at your process in particularly, we're certainly available and willing to do that. Just get in touch with your Idex sales representative. Also, this webcast has been recorded, so if you'd like to log onto our site probably sometime next week, we'll have it up there so you can distribute it within your organization or with other colleagues that you feel may benefit from it. Thank you again for joining us here on behalf of Jeff Barrett and myself, Stefan, and Idex Solutions and So Systems. We wish you guys a great afternoon. Thank you again.